네. 네, 박수 한번 부탁드릴게요.
안녕하십니까? 좋습니다. 내가 한국말 안 돼요. 저 소주, 맥주. I speak in English if you forgive me, but I think you can understand from the amount of people that were trying to get Agroed's cards. I think your English is good. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the way 3speak team sees the tokenomics of media chains going forward for sustainable business models. Okay. So, one of the things that we have in blockchain at the moment is that there is a lack of competition for enterprise, high-quality grade media platforms that can compete with systems like YouTube that have the ease of use, the kind of additivity that YouTube has. So we need to have a solution for this. Our base blockchain is Steam, so we come from the kind of media point of view, and we built 3speak on Steam. So we hope that 3speak solves this issue. We have now a system on 3speak which is a high quality, very responsive video platform that's very, that streams well, HD, all that stuff. So, what do you have in the current world with YouTube, with centralized platforms like YouTube? You have the slippery slope to censorship and authoritarianism, right? I know you guys, there was a political uprising here 2 years ago. I'm not interested in the politics, but I'm interested in the censorship. So, I don't know, but hands up, does anyone know if there was censorship during that period in Korea of the media? Was there any censorship or no? There was no censorship at all?
Never.
Never, yeah, I believe that. Because we see in the West, we see a lot of censorship happening in media, yeah? If you don't agree with the opinions of the major centralized platforms, then you are removed and you're depersoned and you disappear. Now, if you agree with those politics, okay, that's fine. But if you don't agree, then you're disappeared. Now, for the short term, that's very convenient for the people who run the big platforms. But in the long term, there will be an extremism, right? Because when you censor, you push the ideas underground, and then those people become extreme. Their opinions become extreme. It's better to have free speech and shine sunlight on the ideas, yeah? And if the ideas are bad, the people will decide if the ideas are good or bad. So the neutrality of the platforms is disappearing with centralization. With decentralization, hopefully we can solve this issue. So yeah, if you can go to the next platform. So, has everyone heard of this saying by Evelyn Beatrice Hall in 1919? I wholly disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. This is something that was very key to cultures, to advanced cultures. I think it's disappearing a bit these days with the current fintech movements. But this is what blockchain can bring us back to. You know, this idea of let's have the debate, let's have the discussion, let's listen to each other. And I will defend your right to say what you say even if I disagree with it. So, the solution is decentralized video content platforms. There's many coming up. 3speak is one of them. We hope to tackle this area of political discussion, citizen journalism, anti-censorship. So, they work basically by using cryptocurrency to incentivize people for posting media content. Yeah? And the idea is that they can post that content to decentralized databases, and maybe those databases take the forms of torrents or all sorts of different types of databases to store the information, and allow the community to decide whether it's censored or not the platform itself. So we must move towards this model. The blockchain will move us towards this model of the community deciding what gets censored. And this means that it's very difficult to regulate unless the community says it's something that needs to be censored. yeah, as opposed to having a centralized authority censoring. Eventually, these models move into DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the idea is that they have sustainable business models that allow the community to survive and continuously develop their platforms as they go forwards. Next slide. So, one solution to the economics of this problem of running a DAO is displayed in front of you. Hopefully, I'll be able to explain it to you in a simple way. But the way we see it is that you have two separate tokens. One is a governance token, and one is a utility token. So the governance token is very similar to what Agro just showed with Splinterlands, where you saw the chart growing up. It allows you to make profits from holding the token. It gives you voting rights. It has a capped supply. I don't know about yours, Agro, but this type of thing would have a limited supply, so the price can grow over time. It gives you, if you hold the token, it gives you the ability to mine the utility token. And the utility token is required to run and operate on the platform. It's also what advertisers and revenue models work in. So the more of the governance token you hold, the more rights you have over the direction of the platform, what is censored, what is not censored, and the more utility token you can distribute and you can hold, and you can create from the new inflation. So with the utility token, this is where the revenues will be generated. So you would charge advertisers, and you would take cuts from every transaction for any positive revenue generating transaction that happens. And then you would distribute the revenue back to the people holding the governance token. Yeah? Next slide. So once you have this operating, and this is something that we're working on 3speak, you will eventually be able to have an infrastructure of governance token and utility token with the business model built in, which is where we're collecting revenue from advertisers, collecting revenue from people who want to push things up on trending. And this will allow us then to run video platforms in that token infrastructure. So for example, 3speak is a video platform, but you might have independent creators run their own websites, their own independent websites in the same infrastructure. You might have complete independent DAO platforms running on the same infrastructure. And then also media websites like journalists, news agencies, things like this. This allows you to have an independent system that has a business model built in and allows different entities to come and plug into it and operate their own sites on. So we see a big problem with many of the censored content creators who are being removed from YouTube and Facebook. They have their own websites, but they have no way to tokenize those websites. This type of solution would allow them to do that and also build a business model into those websites to make them sustainable. So a little bit about 3speak. So it runs on a similar principle. We're not quite there yet. We've got our beta release now. We've been running for about 6 months. We are, again, anti-censorship. We want to really stress that. The idea is that we let the people decide what's the important thing. HD videos, dead simple to use. You just log on, click upload, and you go. Fast encoding. We're currently getting about 50,000 to 100,000 views per month. And we've got our beta release done. Next slide, please. We just released our new user interface. So we've kind of upgraded from our beta, well, our alpha, we're really in beta now. We're trying to focus on citizen journalists. So, for example, the people who participated in the rally, in the political rallies here 2 years ago, there needs to be a place online for them to voice their opinions. So we think this is very much the future of media and reporting. People are losing trust in the traditional media, and it's very easy now for people to upload videos and show what really actually happened. Maybe even they don't comment, they don't give commentary to the event, they just show the video. But what we find again today is these videos are spun, changed, twisted by the mainstream media, and blockchains will be able to preserve the freedom of speech for people to document what actually happened in an uncensorable place. Unless, of course, the community decides it needs to be removed because it's malicious. We also have a communities feature, so you can build your own communities on there. We have a leaderboard, so the best content creators on the platform, they get additional privileges. They're able to use our stake to distribute tokens to their own followers. So we give them a certain percentage of our stake. And what it means is that if they are content creators that are from outside of the blockchain and they want to bring their audiences in, they can start saying to their audiences on YouTube, come to 3speak because we can distribute you so many dollars a week if you make articulate, good comments that contribute to the discussion. We have immutable tipping, so you can click on any video and tip that video, and once the cryptocurrency is gone, you can't get it back, so we're calling it immutable tipping. Our principle is that the user is not the product, so in the traditional media platforms, you, the user, are the product. Your data is sold and mined without permission. We're building a system in here that allows people to select how much data they sell, and they will sell their own data. They will be able to, because of cryptocurrency, they will be able to monetize their own data. So this means that if they want to sell a certain amount of their data for their video history, they can make this available to the ad network, very similar to what we talked about with Icon. And then what it means is after this, they can get paired with advertisers, and then they can earn a certain percentage of each view. So it means that when you watch an advertisement that's targeted to you, if you've made that information available, you will be able to earn money from watching the ad. Yeah. And then of course we're backed by Steam, so we've got a very, very large part of Steam. I believe we're the biggest part of Steam on the Steam blockchain at the moment. So we're currently using Steam to bootstrap our operation so that we can incentivize big creators to come, post, and then as time goes on, we can deleverage the Steam and bring ad revenues in to make the platform sustainable. Next time. So we're talking about Steam. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it, but it's a great blockchain, scalable, fast transactions, 3-second times. We're currently testing smart media tokens, so the testnet is released on smart media tokens. So 3speak is one of the tokens that will be testing that over the next few weeks and months. And then the smart media token should release early sometime in the first quarter of next year. Again, we're supported by the community with a large delegation. And we're making a long-term commitment to Steam to try and show that this is the blockchain for us. We want to make sure that if people use our platform, the Steam token will benefit. So if you want to hold 3speak token, you've got to go through Steam first. And of course, we'll look for different partnerships in the future. I'm sure there'll be many, but for now, we're focusing on this. So very briefly, this is where we are. We're currently working on our ad system and our trending system. The trending system will work similarly to voice on EOS, with some slight tweaks. Next thing is token sale and implementing live streaming. Then we go into one of the important things we think here is the referral system. So these DAOs won't work unless you incentivize the community to go grab the business, you know. So what we have to have is a very clear system for if you can demonstrate that you bought an advertiser in, or if you can demonstrate that you bought a content creator in, you should get some of the ad revenue, right? So we need to build that into the system so that a small cut of every transaction after that's happened, after the advertisers come in or after the content creators come in, goes to the person that brought that business in. And if we can automate that, we can really make a sustainable DAO business model, incentivize people to go out and grab the business. As we go on after that, we're looking to build something where you can run your own version of 3speak. So you can just download with a couple of clicks, and you can have access to the infrastructure that 3speak is. You can have access to the decentralized database, and you can upload your own videos for your own specific site. You don't have to have a 3speak logo, you have your own logo. So currently we have a centralized curation system, but of course, as I've spoken a lot about, we want the community to be able to choose what gets curated, what gets censored, what doesn't. So we'll have a community curation system. And then last of all, a decentralized storage system. So this is probably the most difficult thing to work on. But really it basically boils down to being a torrent system. So does the community want to volunteer their storage system to store the videos of 3speak and the 3speak users that they think is important? And if they do, they can get some tokenized rewards for doing that. And we don't necessarily even have to pull from that database, because it's quite difficult, it's quite slow to pull from databases like that. We could have our own 3speak centralized database that is backed up by a decentralized storage system, so that if we get shut down, the community can make our videos available for someone else to reset up another version of 3speak or their own version of a 3speak backup, for example, so it's much harder to sample. And then eventually moving on to, once we've got all those things in place, you can run a DAO, so we can step back from centralized control. We can allow the thing to run independently as a DAO. It's governed by the people who have the governance token. Next slide. So that's basically it. Our website is 3speak.online. Our motto is speak your truth. And I hope you learned a little bit. And thank you for listening.
네, 3speak 온라인의 창사 이사님이신 랜님께 다시 한 번 더 큰 박수 좀 부탁드릴게요. 일단은 그 다음 순서가 원래는 Q&A인데요. 시간이 조금